Welcome everyone, I'm Avinash aka Moto2Z, and today I'll be taking you on a ride across my camera setup and gear that I've been using for all of my motovlogs. I'll be showing you what cameras I personally use, what are the pros and cons of each of these cameras, and last but not the least, the base settings and accessories for getting a very decent video output. This particular review is not sponsored by any brands and is strictly my personal opinion. Of course, this is also not an expert review as well, so let's get started. The first camera that I wanted to talk about is the Insta360, specifically the X5. This is a 360-degree camera. I was never a fan of the Insta360 cameras. I used to hate the images produced, which literally looked like a ball. Once I understood how to use the camera in the right way with the right settings that I'll be recommending you by the end of this video, this thing went from being my will not recommend camera to the most highly recommended camera in no time. Just to give you a short spec about this particular camera, the new Insta360 X5 has an upgraded sensor that Insta360 claims that it is about 144% larger than that of the X4, and I sort of believe them to a decent extent, as the overall image quality, let's say either during the day or the night, is commendable for an action camera. When I shoot at night using the pure mode video, for example, this literally enhances the output further using its AI and imaging chips. It literally delivers its promise as well as advertised. The Insta360 X5 has so many features that I sometimes feel spoiled of choice. Let me give you a small example. Let me give you all the options available on the Insta360 X5. There is video mode, there is pure video mode, there is Instaframe, there is time-lapse, there is Star Wars, there is Lord of the Rings, there is Back to the Future. Okay, so there are quite a lot of modes on this particular camera. Is absolutely insane. Just because of the fact that you have two lenses that literally captures a 360-degree environment, this ensures that you do not literally miss out on anything while motovlogging. And all of this capture can happen at 8K at 30 FPS. Yes, this thing can shoot up to 8K at 30 FPS. Literally gives me a lot of room to play with. However, I mostly shoot it at 4K at 30 FPS as it is the most balanced and sensible option. And this particular camera also enables us to shoot on log profile, as you can see, which is very decent if you are planning to do a little bit of color grading. But this also brings me to the limitations of the camera. The main limitation of this particular camera, especially when you shoot it on any modes, is that it records at 8-bit. Now, for a normal person who just wants a point-and-shoot camera, this does not matter. But if you are into color grading, you know for the fact that 8-bit footage causes an issue known as banding when you play with the colors a little bit too much. Now, despite this particular limitation, as far as features are concerned, in my opinion, it delivers what Insta360 promises. Let's talk about the ease of use. It is extremely well designed, and I believe Insta360 has given it a lot of thought before they release this out. I can't recall the last time I faced trouble accessing the menu. It's very simple, it's very fluid. The Studio app is well designed, giving us direct access to features such as directional lock, etc. But the mobile app is a little bit weird. For example, when I select the directional lock and enable it, it does not reflect well and the direction keeps changing. However, the desktop app is excellent and delivers really well. If you're looking for a camera wherein you aim to just shoot and upload, this camera is not for you. So the X5 has an additional layer wherein you have to use their Studio app to get the correct frames, encode the final footage, and then use that footage either for the final upload or further editing. When we talk about the performance, I'm not going to beat around the bush. This ticks a lot of areas with respect to performance. There has been zero lag issues from the time I had started using the X5, although the temperature does rise significantly, especially on this particular area, but I believe this specific material is used for dissipating heat even better. The battery of the Insta360 is extremely stable. It literally offers me a decent range of about 80 to 85 minutes of 8K recording at about 30 FPS. A few of you have asked me, how do I get such clear audio from the Z900's exhaust notes? Well, this particular thing is the one that records the Z900's exhaust notes, especially when it is mounted at the back of my motorcycle. So that is with respect to the performance. Now let's talk about the price. If we compare pure stats with its closest competitor, which is the DJI Osmo 360, the DJI has a few perks up its sleeves. It has 10-bit recording, which is a boon for color grading enthusiasts. It has a larger sensor, which literally means it can capture better light, especially during low light conditions. So I'm gonna keep it very short. The DJI with its combo pack seems to be a way better option for now as when compared to the X5. So let's talk about the best base settings that you can probably tune your Insta360 in so that you get a very decent video output. And these are the settings that I always use for my Insta360 camera. So specifically when it comes to the day, I usually shoot it on the video mode, as you can see. And it is usually taken at 4K at 30 FPS. Active HDR is on because without this, iLog profile shooting is not possible. And I, for one, am not a huge fan of the adaptive tone, so that I keep it switched off. Then when it comes to the baseline settings, when you look into the app, I obviously put the portrait mode off. The other setting that is switched on is iLog, which is always on specifically after the daylight is active, and the shutter speed. So the shutter speed, I keep it absolutely manual. The last thing that I like on a video is when your footage has multiple exposures. It literally ruins that cinematic experience, for which I usually use the shutter speed. While talking on the subject matter of shutter speed, I also use something else to enhance the cinematic feel of the video, which is obviously the ND filters, right? So these are the ND filters specifically designed for the X5. While you're shooting using an ND filter, one of the golden rules for videos is to set your shutter speed to double your frame rate. So if you're a person who prefers to have it much more quicker, I would highly suggest to keep your shutter speed on auto mode. It literally does a very decent job at handling out all the exposures and lighting conditions, so you don't have to worry much about that. So let's talk about ISO. So ISO literally controls the camera's sensitivity to light, right? So the higher the ISO value, the brighter is the image. However, with ISO also comes another free feature of the Insta360 or any other cameras in the world, is noise. Now let's talk about night. If you need to get a really good footage, make sure you utilize those two chips that are there inside the Insta360, which literally means you need to select the pure video mode. Now this does a lot of things for you in terms of the white balance, in terms of the exposure settings, in terms of the noise adjustments. If your settings are wrong, the video tends to be a little bit too bright. So you only have 3 different options on pure video, which starts with the flat or the standard or the wow. So interesting, there are more modes. I didn't know about this. I'm so sorry. And I would recommend personally to use none of these. I would only ask you to use the flat profile. That works well for me, at least. You also have the exposure compensation, extremely important. I usually set this at -0.7 to -1. One of the issues that this particular mode has is that it might unnecessarily increase the brightness of the video, especially when you pass a bright source of light. And in order to compensate that, I would highly recommend you to stay between values of -0.7 to -1. -1 is something that I recommend so that you can just keep it over there and forget about it. So these are the base settings that I usually shoot at night, and that is something that I would recommend for the night. The next camera that I wanted to talk about is the GoPro Hero 10. I have been with this GoPro Hero series for a while now. I had the GoPro Hero 9, I had the GoPro Hero 8, and now I have the GoPro Hero 10. And as you can see, this has done some time. Ugh. And I think this is where I would put my end to the relationship with GoPro. I have come to this decision not because the camera isn't good, it just didn't keep up with the competition with respect to 2 aspects. One is the low light capability, and the second is with respect to the battery. Alright, so let's talk about the features of the GoPro. Now, regarding the base specs, the GoPro Hero 10 Black is driven by the GP2 processor, so which doubles the frame rates as per GoPro and as when compared to the previous models. So yeah, this particular camera can shoot up to 5.3K video at 60 FPS. It can also shoot 4K up to 120 FPS. And this literally enables the possibility of slowing down your video if in case you want to slow it down. The footage on this particular camera is smoothened and stabilized using Hypersmooth 4. Which is nothing but GoPro's branding on the in-software stabilization that it offers. And this literally works across all the shooting modes, and the in-camera horizon leveling can automatically correct the tilt as well, which is a really nice option. So when it comes to the ease of use of this particular camera, extremely easy to use. Under most circumstances, once you mount it onto your helmet or anywhere else on the bike for the very first time, and you hit record, and that particular footage can be directly taken for post-production, unlike a 360-degree camera. The accessories available for the GoPro is massive. Since it has been there in the industry for a long period of time, you have quite a lot of accessories that can be used with the GoPro. The GoPro app is absolutely easy to use on the iOS, and it easily connects with the phone without any issues. The GoPro interface on the screen is easy to touch. Now, it can be also used with gloves as well, which literally helps me out a lot in times. So that's with respect to the ease of use. With respect to the performance, let's start with the positives, all right? So when we shoot this particular camera, especially during the day, it is pretty much a very decent camera, right? It shoots decent quality videos at 5.3K and 4K, which is great for creators like us who always appreciates more pixel density. As when compared to the Hero 9, this does not overheat as much. However, the camera does get slightly hot at times, especially when shooting at high resolution. And it also takes a dig onto your battery life as well. It just does not shoot log, which is a slight miss, and it also does not shoot 10-bit because this is an old camera, to be very specific. And this is where the rainbow ends. Oh, don't cry, it's okay. It's okay. All right, so the battery life on this camera is a nightmare. Just like any other GoPros of this particular age, I've tried out multiple batteries. I've included this particular long-range battery pack as well. It is extremely inconsistent, hence becoming inconvenient at times. Let's talk about the elephant in the room with respect to GoPros. It is its low light performance. It is a horrible camera for low light. And I'm just being absolutely honest here. And I think GoPro hasn't evolved as much as the DJIs have. DJIs in fact have really good low light performance. This does not have that. That is one of the reasons why I said earlier that my relationship with GoPro is almost done. So let's talk about price, shall we? I have experienced GoPro 13 Black as well, and it is currently available on Amazon for 35,000 rupees. So if you care about daylight performance only and you literally do not venture out at night like Batman, you can consider this camera, not this one. I'm talking about the GoPro 13. But I would definitely recommend you to go ahead with the DJI Osmo Action 6 over the Hero 13 any day. So with respect to the settings that I use on the GoPro, I very specifically in terms of the resolution, I always shoot it at 5.3K at 60 FPS. One of the reasons why I shoot it at the highest resolution possible is because the file sizes are not as horrendous as when compared to the Insta360. And I also shoot it at 60 FPS under normal circumstances, but when I would like to have cinematic, I always shift it to 30 FPS. I know for the fact that shooting at 24 FPS is great for cinematic output, but 30 FPS enables us to customize it as accordingly. It gives us a midpoint rather than extreme cinematics, and that is something that I prefer to shoot. And now when it comes to the detailed settings as well, the lens mode that I usually put it is on wide. I do not usually go for the ultra wide or the super view, which is equivalent to a 16mm lens. I shoot it usually on wide because the warp effect is slightly more higher when you shoot it at ultra wide. The rest, hyper smooth, I switch it off for some reason because I do not like too stabilized content unless and otherwise, these are B-roll shots. So I absolutely avoid shooting hyper smooth on the GoPro specifically. When we look into the Pro Tunes section, I shoot it at high bitrate. So if you want to ensure that your footage looks crisp, the shutter speed on the GoPro, when I use my ND filter, it varies from time to time. Just similar to that of the Insta360. So I ensure for the fact that it's between 120 to 160. The ISO settings is another important area. As I told you earlier, the same settings I used for the GoPro. I started minimum with around 800 ISO and I go max to max about 1600. Sharpness, nowadays, I do not even put it as medium. I put it on low mode. Sometimes the sharpness produced by the cameras such as GoPro or Insta360 will not be that great. It'll look too sharp after post-production. So always put your sharpness as low. And the color profile, as I mentioned earlier, I make sure for the fact that it is on flat. The rest of it, I leave it as it is. And this particular camera, I make sure that I do not shoot at night. So I don't have a specific night setting. And so that's with respect to the most recommended settings for the GoPro Hero 10. So the next camera that is on the list is the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. So the Osmo Pocket 3 is my backup all-rounder camera for shooting anything except for mounting it on my motorcycle or my helmet. It provides the ability to shoot almost everything with excellent quality and the post-production potential as well. It offers a built-in gimbal that literally smoothes out all the shots with little to no X-axis or Y-axis distortions. And then finally, the only camera in my collection, believe it or not, that shoots up to 10-bit. And that for me is nothing short of amazing because it gives me a lot of post-production freedom with respect to color grading. Even though the Pocket 4 was released recently, I would still recommend the Pocket 3 because of the following reasons. So let's talk about the ease of use. So the Pocket 3 is super easy to use. You just need to flip up the screen, and once you rotate it to the horizontal position, the camera and the gimbal comes to life. The menu is extremely easy to use. So as you can see, you have the ability to do, when you swipe up, you have the ability to select the resolution as well as the FPS. When you swipe from the right to the left, you get your exposure details, your white balance, what profile that you're currently shooting at, whether it's normal or whether it's HDR or whether it's log. You also have the ability to switch off the Pro mode, which literally switches on the camera's default color profile. The Osmo Pocket 3 also comes with an external adapter. As you can see, this is the external adapter, which you can easily remove by removing the clip. So it comes as these two pieces specifically on the combo pack. It's extremely easy to plug it in and remove it as well. And there you go. You also get a joystick to control the camera's movements. As you can see, it's very easy to control the camera's movements. You can put it up, down. This can be used to switch from 16:9 to 19:6 in a matter of seconds. So this literally makes your life extremely easy when it comes to shooting portrait as well as landscape. And that too in a matter of seconds. Okay, so mounting this particular camera to the motorcycle is a strict no-no. And the reason why I say it is because the sensor is extremely sensitive to vibrations from the motorcycle. So unless you have an accessory like the MoveMax mount or equivalent, which literally stabilizes the Z-axis movements, connecting a DJI Mic Mini to the Osmo Pocket 3 is a breeze. If you guys have owned DJI products, you know that the ecosystem is very friendly. It instantaneously connects with the mic, and it also showcases the audio levels so that you can see if the audio is being clipped, and multiple settings can be adjusted within the Osmo Pocket 3 as well. Super easy to use camera when it comes to ease of use. When it comes to the features, this particular camera, the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, is driven by an upgraded 1-inch CMOS sensor, which significantly increases the overall light that it can capture, and also the dynamic range over its predecessor, because I used to use the previous iteration of this camera as well. It can capture up to 4K videos at 60 frames per second in standard mode. It can also shoot 4K at 120 frames per second for high definition slow motion. It is not even there. This particular feature is not even there on my iPhone 14 Pro. So that is something which is amazing. As you can see, I've currently set it up at 4K resolution at 120 FPS, which is amazing. It's a very, very capable camera. It can also shoot at 240 frames per second. Let's say for the fact that if you want to go not on 4K, but if you are at 180p, you can definitely shoot this at 8x slow motion, which literally translates to 240 FPS. So this particular camera also comes with a 3-axis mechanical gimbal. So as you can see, the gimbal is currently stabilizing the camera, so the camera is not moving much. Physically counteracts movements across all shooting modes, and it also has another very interesting mode known as the intelligent active track, if I'm not wrong. So what that mode means is, let's say that I have my camera right up here. As you can see, I want to track that. I double tap on it. Now, as you can see, it has detected that there's a camera, and now no matter where I move, the camera will follow my camera. Pretty interesting. This particular screen is a 2-inch rotatable OLED screen. That is amazing. And it can be flipped to 90 degrees. Don't try doing a 360 on this, then you will have the screen on your hand and it'll act as a wireless screen. That never works. One of the downsides of this particular camera is that this is not waterproof. As you can see between the screens, there are gaps. So it is not entirely waterproof. So this is with respect to the features of the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. When it comes to the performance of this particular camera, it's very clear and it's very sharp, so that's good. And I had never experienced this particular camera showcasing any sort of errors with respect to heat. I've never faced an issue till date where the camera overheats and pauses the recording session. I in fact have taken long recording sessions with this camera, so that is all great, but I don't think so a camera can be perfect in every way. So the chink in the armor with respect to the Pocket 3, specifically for motovloggers, is that it cannot be mounted on a motorcycle without experiencing extreme jitters. This particular lens cannot handle micro vibrations, and the camera also locks up due to these extreme vibrations coming from the motorcycle. So if you are planning on mounting this particular camera to your motorcycle, you might as well buy a Move Max to stabilize the Z-axis movement. That's my take with respect to the performance. So let's talk about the price of this particular camera. So this camera, the Osmo Pocket 3, is currently available on Amazon at rupees 57,990 the last time I checked. The DJI Osmo 4 has been released as well. However, it is not currently available on Amazon. So there are two aspects of it. So if you are a person who already owns an Osmo Pocket 3 and you're planning to upgrade to the Pocket 4, I would highly ask you to wait, as the newer upgrade is incremental and it's not a massive upgrade. Now, for those who are about to buy a Pocket 3, again, wait for the Pocket 4 to release, as this will be slightly more future-proof. So this is my overall perspective of the Pocket 3 camera. So the next camera on the list, my Sony A6400. So the Sony A6400 is a very special camera, at least for me. It literally taught me that life isn't going to be easy even with a bigger camera. Every single time I had to use this camera, I learned a lot in terms of exposure, in terms of shutter speed, in terms of metering this, that, etc., right? And here we are in 2026, where I'm still stuck with my A6400. When I'm talking about the ease of use, this particular camera does not have an in-body stabilization. The slow sensor readout speed when shooting 4K video results in spatial skewing. And last but not least, this particular screen has only the ability to flip up. Then we also have another limitation with this particular camera, which is with respect to the connection. So this particular camera only has a micro USB. It's super slow. This particular camera packs an impressive array of tools. You know, it makes it quite versatile, but not versatile enough is something that I would add. So under the hood, you get a 425-point phase detection autofocus system, which literally covers the entire sensor. So that's good. You also have the Bionz X processor. It's very old as when compared to the newer lines of processors that is currently available in the market. It also unlocks real-time. I think autofocus is present for this particular camera, and it can identify whether it's a human or an animal, and that is pretty quick. That is commendable for this particular camera. So when it comes to the performance of this particular camera, has a 24.2 megapixel APS-C sensor coupled with multiple picture profiles like the S-Log2 and the S-Log3, although you must know for the fact that it is restricted to 8-bit, which limits heavy grading. It can shoot crisp 4K videos in excellent detail and a beautiful color science that works great for B-rolls and general videography, right? And thanks to Sony's legendary real-time autofocus and tracking capability, this particular camera locks onto subjects flawlessly. I also wanted to talk a little bit about the lens as well. I believe I had 2 or 3 people asking me about the lens that I use. So for taking this particular video, I used my Sigma 30mm 1.4 aperture lens. This particular lens is pretty slow with respect to the autofocusing system that is built into the lens. So that is something that you need to keep in mind if you're planning to get this. The clarity is pretty commendable because it's a Sigma. However, for my main shoots, I use a Sony FE 1.8 50mm. This particular camera without the gimbal is absolutely useless when it comes to videography, and that's the honest truth. That is with respect to the performance of the A6400. So when we talk about the pricing for this particular camera, let's not even consider this right now in 2026. If you are a beginner who wants to enter into the professional camera space, all you need is either a ZV-E10 for videography, and if you plan on doing both photography as well as videography, the other option for you would be the A6700. That turns out to be a brilliant camera. So the A6700 makes it a wonderful option if you want to look into both photography as well as videography. Oh man, I wish I had an A7 Mark IV. So I will be showcasing to you a few of the settings today with respect to how I shoot the videos. Based on the previous cameras, I'm a very manual person, so the basic mode that I usually leave, especially for photographs, is on manual, and then for videos I go into this one, the video mode, but everything under this is manual indeed. Let's start off with the shooting mode. So I usually shoot this at XAVC S4K, which literally is the 4K variant of this, a super sampled 6K converted to 4K. So the picture profile that I usually use for shooting is S-Log3. So I ensure for the fact that the color mode is on movie and the gamma level is at S-Log3. So this is with respect to the base settings that I have on the camera. And also the recording setting is at 30p 100mm. If I'm shooting something, let's say a video like this for today, I will ensure for the fact that the aperture sits between 2.5 to 3.5 stops, so that is something. Since the lighting condition is limited in this particular room, I have set the ISO at 1000, but again, the golden rule, as per my opinion, I do not exceed more than 1600, because after that there's quite a lot of noise on this camera. So I try to avoid that as maximum as possible. When we look into the focus, as I told you earlier, it is on manual focus. The focus area is another setting that I play with quite a lot. The metering mode is nothing but it tells the camera's sensor how to evaluate the light on your frame to determine the correct exposure, right? So literally understanding this can prevent your photos from turning out accidentally blown out too much, or is it too dark? By default, I usually put it on multimeter. So the camera literally, I think, divides the entire screen into multiple zones, and it measures the overall light of each of these zones, and it automatically calculates the balance. So that's pretty good. Then you have the center weighted. I think it's called the center weighted. So what usually happens is the camera literally concentrates its evaluation of the light, on the center of the frame. So usually the camera ignores the edges and the corners. So that is what the center weighted is. Let's say for the fact that if I'm shooting a B-roll for the bike, I ensure for the fact that I set up my metering mode in the center, because the bike usually is on the center of the camera. White balance, as always, it's on auto white balance. I do not do that scenario where I take the gray sheet and try to understand, hey, what exactly is the white balance that is required. I just leave it on auto. I'm not a professional. And then finally, we have the exposure mode, which is on manual most of the time. See, when you're taking B-roll shots of the bike, multiple lights from multiple areas can literally ruin that perfectly aligned smooth shots. So I always set it on manual exposure. So these are some of the base settings that I keep it on my camera. So yeah, This brings us to the conclusion with respect to the different cameras that I use. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys, and I hope we both can learn a thing or two. Please do comment down below if you have better suggestions so that I can improve myself. If you really like the video and if you found this informative, do like, share and subscribe. So thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Cheers.